So, Ned Stark. He is who I thought was going to be the main character when I first started watching the show about 2 months ago. I started watching 2.5 months. And I really love Ned Stark's actor because I love Lord of the Rings. So, seeing him in this role was incredible, in my opinion. However, let's talk about him. Let's actually get to the nitty gritty of Ned Stark. So, this is mainly going to be show canon with a couple maybe thrown in from the books. So, we see Ned Stark living his happy life in Winterfell, watching his sons and daughters grow up and play and, do the whole thing. And then they get the letter from Lysa, and Lysa's like, "Oh my god, they've murdered my husband. I'm fleeing to the Eyrie. Be careful." And Ned Stark's like, "Oh shit." And then he receives a notice that Robert is coming to Winterfell. And he's like, "I know what he's going to ask me. I don't know what to do." And one major thought that was funny to me is the comparison in the book to show. In the show, Catelyn Stark is like, "No, you don't have to say yes. You don't have to go." In the book, she's like, "You absolutely have to go. Like, please go." And it's super weird to me because she clearly loves him, and yet she's like shoving him out the door to go. And then, they come to Winterfell. Bran gets shoved out the window. Life is lifing, and Ned Stark leaves with Sansa, not knowing if Bran's ever going to wake up. And they get to the capital. And Sansa takes to it like a fish to water. Sansa's really, really good in the capital. She knows her manners. She likes to play the dress up part of it as well. And then we see Arya, who is bored, 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 bored. And she doesn't know what to do. She's not into the whole dress ups thing. And she's often really snippy with the, for lack of a better word at this moment, nanny that they took. And we see them growing as people do. And Ned Stark is over here trying to convince Robert to do this and that. And he finds out about the hands tourney. Well, he also finds out that the King's Landing crown is dead broke. Like, they don't have enough to sustain 6 months of normal living type broke. And they owe money to the Iron Bank and to the Lannisters and everybody under the sun. And he is astonished and doesn't want anything to do with this hands tourney. He's like, "No, it's not about me. I don't want it." And trying to be responsible. So you've got Robert Baratheon over here like, "Oh yeah, let's party, let's drink, let's go boar hunting." And Ned Stark's over here like, "Okay, but first can we fix the economy and can we figure out why John Aaron's gone?" And Robert Baratheon's over here like, "No, I'm good." And Cersei's like, "Oh shit, he's smarter than all of us combined." So Sansa's playing into Cersei's little pet. She's getting to be dressed up. She's like, "Oh my god, I love Joffrey." And, she's acting like a normal teenage girl. And Ned is going through records. He's trying to find things out. He's piecing bits and pieces together. He's visiting Robert Baratheon's bastards. We see Gendry, and we see a little baby born in the brothels that they kill off, which I cannot even imagine that thought process well and truly. You could have gave her a bag of money and said never come back to Westeros, and it could have been completely different. And Ned Stark is decently smart at figuring out, hey, Cersei's kids are bastards, they're born of incest, and he tries very hard to get Cersei to leave, and he's going to tell Robert Baratheon. And I'm going to use a direct quote from my mother here: "Never tell people what you're going to do before you do it." If Ned Stark had bit his tongue and had something ready to go for when Robert Baratheon came back for Cersei and the kids, he really would have been alive, in my opinion. And as much as I like Ned Stark as a character, he did his kids one huge disservice. He made them feel like they were kind of invincible in a way, because you see the cockiness of Robb Stark. He knows nothing about being a general. He's never been in a war. He's a teenager. And he goes out and he's very successful at first, but loyalty and honor were not his main things because he followed his heart instead of his allegiances. Then we see Arya, who jumps around and she does try very hard. She's learning the sword. She's trying to be a faceless manling, and she goes through a lot of trial and tribulation. Don't get me wrong, but there's also a naivety to her as well over what death will feel like and what it means to murder somebody. And then you see Sansa and she thinks, oh, I'm going to marry Joffrey and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows. And that very quickly does not happen for her. She's abused by Joffrey as soon as her dad dies. And Cersei plays with her like a cat and a mouse. Then you see the little ones, Bran and Rickon, and they are left to their own devices. They have no idea what to do. There was no escape plan for if Winterfell went under siege, which I think would have been a much better idea, like to have that. But the kids figured it out. Osha figured it out. Like, I think they did a decent job with that storyline. And so you see Ned Stark, and he's like, he gets arrested, and it takes a long time for him to go. Like, and in the books, his leg was completely like shattered, whereas in the show, it just kind of has him have a limp. Like, he was really bad off in the books. And I feel like when he gets up there and he does his little confession and everything, he should have rallied some troops before he confronted Cersei. That way he'd have more protection, but he didn't. And so I personally like Ned Stark as a character, but I do think he did his kids a huge disservice by not preparing them for a world outside of Winterfell. Your daughters were growing up quick, in that time period, and in this show, they're getting married really young. And I don't know what the game plan was for them being married because we know the idea of Sansa marrying Joffrey didn't come up until way later. Like, she was 11 when that idea comes up in the show, and she's 10 in the book when that comes up. Yeah. And so to me, if he had done a better job preparing his daughters for what could have been and what the real world was like, you don't have to tell them every gory detail, but just like let them know, hey, the world's not always going to be like Winterfell. He would have done them a better service.